The Swiss Queen's Wednesday series is a weekly event featuring some of the world's best chess players, battling it out with a prize fund of $1,000. These are the highlights. The third edition was held on Valentine's Day, the 14th of February. 83 players from 34 countries, including the likes of Grandmasters, Alexandra Kosteniuk, Harika Dronavalli, Valentina Gunina, and more. Swiss Queen's Wednesday is an initiative organized by FIDE and World Chess, providing a global platform for female players to connect, compete, and grow within a chess community.
Well, I must praise World Chess for taking this initiative to organize such a beautiful women's only series. And it's really, I consider it as a nice present to support women's chess, because as I say, even though there are many online tournaments, but those are not for women only, and I just do hope to see many more series like this, and I do thank World Chess for taking the step in supporting and promoting women's chess.
Swiss Queen's Wednesday is open to all title female players, including arena titles too. These were the prize winners for the third edition: Anastasia Bodnaruk, Gulnar Mammadova, Harika Dronavalli, Valentina Gunina, and Polina Shuvalova. With more than 400 games to look at, we spotted brilliancies, blunders, and moments definitely worth highlighting.
H5 happens. What? H5 blunders the game away. In round 5 here, we have Polina Shuvalova versus Gulnar Mammadova here, which was a very, very strong game. And in fact, what happened was a crazy Sicilian Nightorf from the beginning. One of my favorites, one of your favorites probably at home too as well. The Nightorf is just an irrefutable opening in the way. So after g5, attacking the bishop on f4, there was bishop to e3, backing up. Now, this knight is kind of trapped. If you notice here, all the pieces are on the board, but this knight is actually really trapped. There's no real squares for it to go to. So what does Gunnar chooses? She chooses f5. Just to maybe go f4 there and solidify the knight, especially if there's a capture with the bishop here. But what happens is f3, taking the knight away. So cool, we'll go f4 and say you take mine, or if you take my knight, I'll take your bishop, right? But what happens here is bishop to c1, and now you're in a dilemma where this piece is actually trapped. But look at the nature of the piece activity of these pieces here, with the knight here, the bishop, and the pawn all connected, which is going to be a very drastic point and a very critical point in what happened in the rest of this game. Bishop to b4, backing the bishop up, a3 to kick the bishop. We move away, now we take on e4 and says, I'm up a piece. What you gonna do about it? After d takes e4, we attack this bishop, and the bishop, has to move unless you're just gonna give some material back. Not to mention the bishop is actually defending the rook here, so there is no problems down this file, because this is defended, so there will be none of this stuff, because we'll just take back and get our piece and be good to go. So with that being said, boom, bishop moves back to e2. Right now, white is actually up a piece, but that piece, if you think about it, you got the superfluous knights here, which actually do the same thing. So these knights aren't really that good, and black is very active. We also have a very massive pawn center here. Very massive. So, okay, after bishop to d5, just bettering the pieces here, improving the quality of the pieces, attacking b3. b4 happens, boom, now look at this bishop. Threat after threat, attacking this pawn. Rook d2, e3, hit the rook. Where's the rook going? Okay, so we move the rook out of the way, rook c2, boom. Bishop b4, hit the rook. Where's the rook going? Rook moves away, boom. Bishop takes d4, we're taking everything. Now it looks like who is up a piece here? It feels like black's not down anything, even though being down a piece, grabbing off some central pawns. Let's see what happens. Rook to b3. We've moved this rook like 3-4 times in a row here. Bishop takes e5, grab another pawn. Now we basically don't feel down a piece at all. After bishop f3, bishop to d5, saying please capture my bishop here, because then when that happens, I'm going to have the pawns rolling very easily. Rook to b2, knight around to e4, attacking this rook. Once again, this rook got a lot of heat today. And after bishop takes e4, bishop takes, rook moved around. Literally, look at all the pieces still sitting here. These pieces sat here for like 5-6 moves in a row, while this rook and maybe the bishop moved, and black made a lot of progress here. So after the rook moves, rook f to c8, we double the rooks. Bishop to b2, make some trades, but we'll take the trades. Takes. Rook c2, rook to the 7th is what they say. Put the rook on the 7th rank. Not only, obviously having the g2 square under attack, but we're going to bring the rook down and also try to push these pawns as well. What happens is rook takes. We have to defend g2. How do you defend it? By putting the knight on f3. After knight f3, look at the bad knight here. Again, the knight's being superfluous. So they do the same thing. Where's this knight going? Here? You might as well take it off the board. It looks exactly the same to me. In fact, in this position here, after knight f3. So h6 here was just defending g5. Black is in the driver's seat 100%. Knight 1 to h2. Not really going many places with that knight. For the rook d1 move, h5 happens. What? h5 blunders the game away. That was actually missed. Of course, time trouble was a huge thing here, and this is the only way that you make these type of mistakes, is usually in time trouble when you are about to flag and low on time. After h5, the move here is just knight takes g5, which actually forks the king and the bishop here, and we're going to be a lot of material there. We should have just went king to g6 and just try to see what happens there. But h5, it was missed. Rook e1, but not twice. You're not going to get me twice. Now it's defended. h4 and g4. Now the knight has to move. Knight moves away. That's a rough one, because now rook takes g2. You gotta, and then you put the king in a corner. You see the bishop here, right? With the idea of, so obviously knight's going to take here. So you gotta move the bishop away, which happens. And now look at the rook and the bishop combo here. It's really detrimental to white's king right now. And after knight f3, we take on f3, knight h7, king e5, rook c1, f2. About to queen, also play rook g1. A lot of things happen here. We got knight g5, which rook g5 could be a thing, but king h2 was actually played after rook g1. Rook g1 check, which is even better. King h2, taking the rook. This is already over. Knight f7 check, and after king f4, there was a resignation. What a crazy game.
While Gulnar Mammadova seemed to be running away with the tournament, things were far from over. After 6 rounds, players were all warmed up and games were about to get spicy. What happened next? Who better to hear it from than the international master herself?
Well, I was 6 out of 6 at some point, and 7th game I was winning as well. But after the second break, I think I lost the control. But whatever, the games in the tournament is really good for women's chess, and it is very good initiative. I love it, and I love that all top women chess players is participating, and I love the fact that there is also heart rate and how many colors we're losing stuff she's showing on the website, so it's really fascinating.
We all know competition can be tough, and psychology is a huge part of chess. We have some incredible advice from Grandmaster Alexandra Kosteniuk on how to best deal with the mental aspects of the game.
Well, it's always a question of balancing your emotions and experience. It's very hard, to focus only on the game and only on the moves and not to think about any results that happened or is about to happen. Well, basically, chess is a game of concentration. Blitz, it's even more about concentration. And yeah, I know that I've had troubles finding this balance and finding this concentration throughout the tournament, especially when tournaments last for more than 1 day. But even here, even in this particular situation where a tournament lasts for only 2 hours, it's still challenging and difficult because there are ups and downs. In order to get up, sometimes you need to go through this down phase and just keep going and try to focus on the positive thing, which is playing chess. And as they say that, every result is a lesson. Like a bad result is also a lesson to learn and just to improve. And there are so many wonderful and strong players that participate in this series that it's hard to always be on the top, but it's just as I said, it's a motivation to keep going.
Okay, this game we have round 3. This is Alexandra Kosteniuk versus Harika Dronavalli here, and very strong, of course. Round 3, they already get matched up, and in this game we have knight f3, which Kosteniuk plays a lot of this. Alexandra, she plays a lot of this just to stay flexible. She also plays stuff with like e4 as well. So after the knight f3 move, knight f6, and then g3 and g6, bishop g2, bishop g7, we have ourselves a King's Indian, of course symmetrical already, with pieces being on the same side, same setup here. Castle, castle, this is known as more of the Fin Shadow variation of the King's Indian Defense, a favorite of mine from the black side, or at least this was actually didn't like playing against the Fin Shadow variation, but the King's Indian itself is a very fun opening to play. So after d4, there was d6 from Harika here, c4 and knight b to d7, the classical way of playing actually, where you can score tons of wins with the knight b to d7 move. Knight to c3 and e5. e5 is all automatic moves here from both sides. e4, e takes d4, knight takes d4 happens, and then we have a knight to c5, which attacks this e4 pawn right here. So we go rook e1 to defend it. Obviously, more defending. Do not take that pawn. That didn't happen. So after the h3 move, there was bishop to d7, as we could not go to g4 anymore. Yeah, the King's Indian Defense is a very strong opening, obviously played by many of them. Gary Kasparov, of course, you have Ding Liren, right? You also have Firouzja in modern day that plays it a lot. Even you have a Sindarov, right, the younger crowd, and Kirill Shevchenko. All these grandmasters, Danchenko as well, all the Chenkos play this King's Indian Defense. It's a very strong opening. Can be played from, you know, either side. This is the King's Indian attack, but this is King's Indian Defense in with black. So after rook to b1, h6, which stops things coming into the g5 square here, which could be annoying. So okay, we go b4 to kick the knight away. Knight e6 happens just to get the knight away from the danger square. We capture, takes, and now c4 is a hanging pawn right now.
The pawn on b6 looks so dangerous.
Yeah, it's definitely possible to get to the queenie square. We do have to open things up on this diagonal here, which is really important that you want to try to open things up and at least try to use our passed pawn that we have here. It's a very strong pawn, and passed pawn needs to be kept under lock and key is what they say. So what does Alexander...
What's gonna happen next?
Oh, here we go. Kosteniuk's like, you know what? F5. And we lie, Jesse. F5.
F5
right?
and we're live.
And we lie. We're trying to open up shop here, of course, with this right here. Just trying to take and do whatever we can. But there was a capture. Boom. Takes on F5.
I'm so worried about white's king.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, and also black's king too as well. But this rook is kind of stopped by the pawn on F7. So there was a capture. Boom. Queen is attacked. Rook is attacked, or a bishop.
You think black should take the pawn?
You know, that's a great question. If queen takes, we have the problem of bishop takes, and we're just gonna go back. We just have a piece here, right? It doesn't work, right?
I knew that. I was just testing you.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you for the test. I definitely passed all of those, as I am a Jedi. Secondly, here there is something for black to do. Black is in a dilemma if we don't figure out what to do with this and this at the same time. So Jesse, what do you think happens here? Where do you go, Jesse? What is the move for black?
Forwards ever, backwards never.
Ooh, that's very nice. Queen has to move away, and this is what Harika chose and found, which was boom, queen to a2. Wow,
no.
That's some heat. That's a big boy, aka big girl move.
Can you defend the bishop? Will she take on b7?
Well, it does say sack first, think later, as Grandfather Tal says. Rook takes b7.
What would you play?
I'm taking this. I'm actually going to take it.
Oh my
That's what happened in the game.
You're going to take it?
We on the same wavelength. Me and Kosteniuk, we just think alike. What happened was after queen a2, she did sacrifice on b7. So now she's down the exchange. Rook takes, Kosteniuk takes with queen takes d6. Queen around, right? We get some maneuvering going, shuffling. There was a lot of moves here.
You know what they say, offense is the best defense.
That's right. Come on, girl. Offense is the best defense, 100%. So, of course, h10, h takes g5, rook b5, and then this actually ended in a draw. Once we look at these pawns here, these three pawns versus this one pawn here, this is actually just coming out to be a draw. And this was a really cool, instructive game here. Very strong game from both Alexandra Kosteniuk and Harika Dronavalli in round 3.
Well, my advice to any chess player would be just to enjoy the game, to focus on the journey rather than the results. I know myself that it's much easier said than done. When you start making bad moves, it's very hard, you know, it's very hard to enjoy the process. But nevertheless, just do remember that it's just a game. Sometimes it works your way, sometimes just your opponents play better, and that's okay. That's there's going to be another day, but just make sure that every day you do some small steps, some small tasks to get better, and that's what it counts. That's what it takes. Just little by little, every day, regularly, and enjoy the process.
And lastly, we approached Anastasia Bodnaruk to say a few words about her victory.
I think the critical games were against Kosteniuk and Gunina, because they are very strong players, but also a critical game was against Balabayeva Ksenia, because I think I had a bad position. So I'm looking forward to the next Swiss Queens Wednesday.
For sure, you're gonna see me in the next tournaments.
I'm looking forward for the next Swiss Queens Wednesday.
Don't miss out on your chance to participate against the world's best. See you next week for the following edition of the Swiss Queens Wednesday. Visit chessarena.com for more information.